Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Franchise Tag Overtime. I am Gareth Smith. I'm joined by Skye and Neil Reynolds of Sky Sports. How are you doing, Neil?
I'm very good. Thanks for having me on, fellas. Very good.
No, thank you very much for coming on to speak to us today. It has been an interesting few days in the NFL, particularly for us fans at NFL in the UK, with the 3 games being announced for this season for ourselves. We start off with the Jags at Wembley against the Falcons. How excited are you for that matchup?
So it's significant that the Jags, there's a few things. I think every one of these games has got great storylines. I think the fact that it's the 10th regular season game the Jags have played in London shows their commitment to the cause and growing the sport. Very, very excited to see how Trevor Lawrence and that offense kicks on from last year. You know, they had those great late wins against Baltimore and Dallas in the regular season. They come back against the Chargers. But there's a few names that were knocking about for like road teams. I'm not disappointed it's the Falcons. I think they're going to be sneaky good. I think they're going to be competitive. I like Bijan Robinson. I really enjoyed meeting him at the draft. He's such a humble young man, and I think he's going to be a really good pro. But he's already being compared to Saquon Barkley, Edgerrin James, LaDainian Tomlinson. I mean, lofty old comparisons. So how does he look at young offense? So there's a lot to like in that first one, and the Falcons are certainly going to put up a really good fight, I think.
They missed a trick, though, didn't they, with the poster? They didn't put Drake London on the poster for London.
You think open goal and they missed it.
Oh, no, it's the most obvious, because to be honest, I've emailed them, obviously, because it's what you do, isn't it? The second you know what teams are coming over. And I was like, Drake London to London, come on, we got to have him as an interview. But it's like, how did that get on the poster? It's a massive slip up, that.
I mean, I'm not afraid to use painful puns, so expect to see that one live on Sky Sports coming your way soon enough.
And so what I found really interesting, I listened to obviously your show with Jeff, your podcast, and you talked about a certain interview on a yacht that you're going to be doing. Like, how's that opportunity come about that?
Well, I'm doing a bit of, because the Jags are sort of growing themselves here, I'm doing a lot more work for the Jags throughout the course of the season, hosting events. We're hosting, I'm going on stage show tours like the old NFL UK live tours that we used to do. We're going to go to London, Liverpool, Edinburgh, Belfast in June. So certainly follow me on socials for all of that. But they just they gave me a schedule for the week. I'll be doing some stuff in the hospitality on the game day morning. Then I don't think that's going to be a Sky game. So then I'll be heading off to Sky in the first quarter. But on the thing, it was Neil hosting an event on the Bismarck, which is Shad Khan's yachts. It's very me. I'm all about the yachts. That's all I do.
Lavish lifestyle.
No, very much. It was one of those when I heard that, I was like, a little bit jealous. That's the kind, because it's not going to be a small yacht, because end of the day, he's not a man with a modest sense of.
The trouble is, stuff like that's kind of wasted on me. Because I get way more excited walking into a training camp or into an NFL stadium. So it's like, it's a yacht, whatever.
Yeah.
Right, so I must between now and then really big it up and learn to appreciate it. That's my goal.
Very much.
We spoke about getting more exposure, Neil, in terms of obviously like doing this work with the Jags, and we know they're here back-to-back weeks now. What difference do you think that makes in terms of them being in London for a week? Because of course, different teams have made different approaches in the past in terms of coming over a few days before and just having their walkthroughs. Other teams are sort of, trained throughout the week. But what difference do you think that makes to the UK fans to be able to see a team here 2 weeks in a row?
I think it does a few things. I think it, again, re-emphasizes how into the UK the Jags are, and that's something to look at down the road. And I've just finished doing an interview in Jacksonville, so I have to be very careful when I'm talking to people in Jacksonville, because this certainly is another step towards a potential franchise. This is a chance to test the waters for the NFL, but for the Jags, again, it's after the game on that Sunday, the first game, there's a chance we'll probably do a fan event, another stage show between game 1 and game 2 for the Jags. So there'll be more media sessions out of their practices. But I think this is a little bit of a testing ground for the NFL generally. I think this is part of a wider play. And actually, all of this is part of a wider play. 3 compelling games in the UK, 2 good games in Germany. Already Germany's got 1 game to 2. And you look at the games, Jags and Buffalo, that's the sort of game that would be a national interest game in the US, like the Bills and Chiefs last year, the Chiefs and Bengals. So will Miami and the Chiefs. Tyreek Hill playing against Patrick Mahomes in Germany. The NFL are really sending a statement with these 5 games, and the back-to-back for the Jags is kind of leading the way.
I'm going to sneak another question here, Gareth. Sorry, Neil set me up, and I'm not going to be cheeky. I know he's obviously about being careful what you're saying, but on my mind is, Roger Goodell spoke last October about us, this Euro division, and being closer. How close do you think we are to having a team permanently in London?
So I think they're definitely looking, and that whole thing came about. The commissioner on his own talked about 2 teams in London, and I've kind of floated this before because there were no teams in LA for 22, 23 years. Then they came back with 2. You've got Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. You've got Wembley Stadium. So I kind of jokingly said, I used to always ask for a franchise. Could we have a division with the games going to Germany, Munich, Frankfurt, again? And he said, one of the things we are looking at is a European division. Now, I always go back to this. The commissioner of the NFL doesn't say anything he doesn't want to say, and he says stuff when he wants to say it. I'm not clever enough to trip up that man. Like, he gets paid quite a lot more than I do. He would know my questions. So there's something there. Look, there's no doubt now the games in Germany sold out within 4 or 5 minutes. The games in London sell out every year. No matter who comes and plays, every game is a sellout. Everything sells out within minutes. And whether fans in America like it or not, you can go to Washington and there will be thousands of empty seats. You can go to Miami.
Yeah.
You can go to Miami and they got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Tua Tagovailoa, and there'll be empty seats. They don't like it when we say that on that side of the pond. But the fact is, we can support it. And so why should the only barrier that's stopping us be geography?
Yeah. And it's one of those things, particularly when you consider some of the games we've had in the past. I remember one, I think was we had, at the time, the Falcons weren't that good at the time. We had against the Jets, who, until only recently, the Jets have always been a franchise that had almost a bit of a running joke about how long it's been since they made the playoffs. And then we used to get the Jags, who for years were not that competitive, and yet we would still sell out the stadiums. And I remember speaking to some people who I know are Americans who are like, why are you selling out these games? It'd be like, because for us, it's an opportunity to go see something we can't see otherwise. Because otherwise, the cost implication for us to want to go to a proper American football game is however much it costs to get over to the States, hotel, tickets, you name it. Whereas for us, in the UK, it could just be a train ticket and a match ticket. Do you know what I mean? And so that's the reason why we said that we even sell out games that what they would call the trash. Right. So it's interesting to see that games are changing now a little bit, with the last game in this sequence having a player of particular interest in Lamar Jackson, a player that all pre the summer is will he, won't he, will he still be there, will he be traded for first round picks? No, he stayed there and signed a very, very massive deal. How good do you think it'll be for us British fans to see Lamar Jackson live in the flesh?
So I'm really excited about this because as much as I've watched Lamar on TV, I bet it's different. It's just different, right? It's the same when I first watched Patrick Mahomes live and the ball comes out, one of the first passes he threw in the Super Bowl against the 49ers was just like a wide receiver screen to the left. And we were in the end zone. I was like, wow, that came out different. That just looks different. It's better. It's different when you're there and it's not on TV. Yeah. That's why when you watch the Jets and Falcons a couple of years back, it's still a great game. And it's still, you still see amazing catches, incredible tackles, because these athletes are amazing. So to see Lamar is going to be, I think it's going to be one of those special moments. I think I'm fascinated to see how much they've changed. I mean, what's that, week 6 by then? We're going to know where the Baltimore's offense really has opened up. with OBJ and Rashad Bateman back healthy and Zay Flowers added and Todd Monken as the offensive coordinator, Mark Andrews, a Pro Bowl tight end. Lamar wants to throw for 6,000. I mean, slow your roll, but I mean, I think he's going to be a different Lamar. And, so that's fascinating. Will we see Will Levis by then for Tennessee? Everyone kind of grumbles that Derek. I've started to hear grumbling. Oh, Derek Henry, he's slowing down. He's getting, he's 1,500 yards and 13 touchdowns last year. I mean, every team would trade for that and give up that. So, every game, even the ones even the New England game, Patriots maybe aren't the most exciting team at the moment, but this is an early look at Anthony Richardson. Yeah, that's the way I find that. It's like, I want to see how that guy does against a Bill Belichick coached team. So people sometimes, I get cross on social media when people get picky about what the games are. Because I came from a time when we didn't have a single game.
No.
I came from a time when, I'm going to sound an old man now. I came from a time when I'd be working at NFL Europe games with the London Monarchs at Crystal Palace, and there'd be 2,000 people there 2 minutes before kickoff. And I'm like, where is everyone? Like, we have 3 regular season games a year. We got 5 in Europe this year. It's incredible. So people sometimes accuse me of being a bit of an apologist for the NFL because I get all excited about these games. Yeah. I'm never going to take them for granted, ever.
Well, and bearing in mind how the growth of the NFL has been in the UK, because I remember as a kid, I think it was highlights were just on Channel 4, I think was back in the day. And obviously
a week later. 1 hour highlights a week later. And the shocking thing was you could avoid the scores for a week. There was no bye week between the championship games and the Super Bowl because we were running a week behind, and then they showed the Super Bowl live.
And obviously you've been there and seen the evolution of the game here in the UK. How much has it impressed you, the growth of the fan bases over here? Because obviously you do see some fan bases have the historic fans, like your Bears fans from the 80s and your Packers fans from those teams of the past, and even down to the number of Patriots fans like Skye, who supported those franchises. Whereas nowadays, just seeing the growth, and when you go to a London game, you literally see every jersey and stuff like that. How much has the growth of the game impressed you over here?
So I'd say, I think the fans are incredibly knowledgeable, and that doesn't surprise me. I've kind of banged that drum for many years, even before we had regular season games. You can just tell when you meet fans. So we deserve to have the games because of that. I think it's a really vibrant community. So like you said it with the jerseys, you see it. Every jersey is represented, but they come together as well. So I did a road trip this year. I took a group of fans out to the West Coast, and you should see them on the bus. There were solo travelers there. There was a group of 30, and some were husband and wife, father and son, but some people were on their own, and they're instantly, who's your team? I like this. There's no kind of rivalry, certainly not in a nasty way. More and more podcasts like yourself, more and more fan clubs are rising up. The fact that teams want to market themselves in here. I mean, any way you measure it, kids playing flag football. The whole thing is just crazy compared to where we were. I said this on another interview a couple of days ago. It started out in 2007 with that game between the Giants and the Dolphins at Wembley Stadium. And the rumblings at that time were, it's nice, but it's never going to last. We've gone now, we're here in 2023 to it's probably never going away.
Yeah.
That's quite a journey.
It's a big deal.
And, there's the NFL. I've seen it through my family. The NFL Academy gives opportunities for kids. My son went to play in Canada. Then he worked on Player Pathway this past year, throwing to the prospects and working as a scout. There's whichever way you look at it, media, fan involvement, it's all just going through the roof, and it's because of these games.
You mentioned Giants Dolphins there, Neil, and obviously as a Patriots fan, I don't like to remind myself of this, but that year they went on to win the Super Bowl and ruined the 19-0, which is painful. But no other team has gone on to win the Super Bowl since then, having played in London in the same season. I think it's we're on 14, 15 seasons now. Of the 6 teams that are here this year, do you think there's any that could go all the way and lift the Lombardi? Could you make a case?
So I think there's 3 that will certainly be contenders. I think Jacksonville are going to push on from where they were last year. And if you think they were in the final 8 last year, they've got the 2 things you need in the NFL: competent and very good head coach, elite quarterback. And I think Trevor Lawrence is moving up into that stratosphere. He is what we thought he was going to be. I think he delivered those big moments last year.
Yeah.
I think I worry slightly that Buffalo's window is starting to close. They've been my pick for the Super Bowl the last couple of years. So I think Buffalo is still going to be in the mix. And then I would say, if you're going to throw one in there from, I think Baltimore have always turned out winners. So I don't think there's a clear kind of Super Bowl team there. I think that's still the Chiefs and the Eagles and the 49ers. There's a separation. Those are the 3 at the very top. Then I think Buffalo and Cincinnati are kind of right there as well. Probably Cincinnati. I'm working out my power rankings on the
Set you up your power rankings.
Might put Cincinnati into that upper echelon. They're very close. But Baltimore are always competitive, and I think they're going to be quite fascinating to watch this year.
Yeah, I agree. And then go on, Gareth. You have a question.
I was going to ask you, obviously, you've obviously been involved in a lot of really good interviews down your time. You got to meet some true legends of the game. Is there anyone that's on your bucket list to interview that you haven't had yet?
Oh, that is a good one.
Because I do know A-Rod was on there, and then you got A-Rod. Because I remember you saying you always wanted to get him on, and then you got him on. So is there anyone else that is on your, before my time is done in the NFL?
It's very difficult. So I'll tell you who's top of my list right now, and I've interviewed it. Well, so it's because I've been very fortunate. Right? There's most of the big, Marino, Elway, Montana, all of the stars. So I've been very fortunate. Belichick, Brady, So I think, and I'm not going to play to the home crowd here, Gareth, but I really would love to spend some time with Jalen Hurts.
Yeah,
so there's two that I think. Mahomes I've interviewed once. Mahomes it got set up. So it's funny because you chase these interviews, you could sometimes be chasing for weeks and weeks. And then Mahomes came through and was a yes, but it was an email that came at lunchtime, and it was like, this needs to be done at 5:00 UK time tonight. I was at Center Parcs. In one of the lodges with no signal, hanging my head out the window.
Too good to Patrick.
We did it, but I was like, so now I'd like to sit down and do a proper interview with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Of me riding around on my bike and going down the rapids or anything at Center Parcs. And then Jalen Hurts is one. I've interviewed Travis Kelce, who I thought was great. Jason Kelce would be brilliant.
Jason, yeah.
He's him. But I have been quite fortunate. So there's not many players in the NFL at the moment.
Well, to be fair, you've even interviewed Mama Kelce as well. So you just need Jason to complete the key members of the family.
I'll be done. But I've even been fortunate to interview a lot of Hall of Famers and stuff when I was writing my book, and interviewing Dick Butkus while he was eating his cornflakes and stuff like that. So it probably sounds a bit probably a tiny bit arrogant that I've interviewed a lot of them, but there are some, and I think it's more and more stars come out every year, so every training camp I'm looking at going around and meeting these people and sitting and interviewing them. And most of them are brilliant. They're very, very, very good to talk to. They're very generous with their time, and it's always a good trip in the summer. So I'm looking forward to that again.
You spoke about Hall of Famers there, Neil. I saw Randy Moss in the 2009 Patriots-Buccaneers game. First NFL game I got to see live. Obviously, was great being a Patriots fan. I think it was 35-7, Welker over 100 yards and a touchdown. Obviously, this seems ages ago now. And then there was also the win over the Rams in 2012, another blowout win. It just sounds like I'm trying to talk about Patriots blowout wins. But the thing I'm leading to here is obviously we've had a lot of great London games, whether they've been blowouts or close ones. And I know you mentioned with Jeff in the huddle about the close Bills and Jags game in 2015. Are there any other games that we've had so far that you would say are like standout classics?
Yeah, I mean, even last year, I would actually put that as a game, the Saints and Vikings. Yeah, the Vikings kick the long field goal to go ahead. The Saints kick a field goal, and it's the Saints, then the Vikings, and then back comes Will Lutz, and it's the off the post, off the crossbar, bounces back out, and I think they came back into studio. We were so excited, and we finished. We're like everyone else, right? We're jumping out of our seats. Oh my god, it's in the post! It's in the crossbar, and then I remember turning to camera because the producer said to me in your ear, wrap up this game now. We're going to go to the scorecard and we're going to lay out the rest of the evening. And I remember turning to camera and going, oh, I forgot to pace myself. We got 8 hours still to go. I was so excited about what had happened. And obviously sitting next to J-Bell and Phoebe and Dante Hall, everyone's full of it and excited. I do think that Jags-Bills game was really special. Because it was Jacksonville's first win in London. And they raced out to that big lead. And then back come the Bills. The Bills take the lead on the pick six. And then Alan Hearns with a diving catch was fantastic. So, we've had some good ones as well. I think we've had what's representative of the NFL. Sometimes you're going to get some. If you more and more you get games, sometimes you're going to get a dud. Sometimes you're going to get a great one. And that's why when you look at these games, I don't know which one we're showing yet on Sky. It's the London games are split between ITV and Sky. Both Germany games are on Sky, so we've got those. I really don't mind which one I get out of the London games because I can sell any of them. And that's all I can do is sell them.
Yeah.
Give you some talking points and things to look out for. And then none of us know how any game is going to unfold on a Sunday night in the NFL. That's the beauty of it. That's why we love it.
And speaking of selling, make sure people register your interest for the tickets. That they're all available now. Get yourself on there and register interest in any games you're thinking of. I've already done it. I think pretty much all of us have from the franchise tag already. But thank you very much for your time today. It has been truly grateful to have you on today, Neil. Always good to speak to yourself. And thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure. Because I went after Jeff and I went after Phoebe, does that make me like the biggest star? Was I big time in you? Is that
you were the one that I pursued the most. I did pursue you the most. I was like, I'm not giving up. I'm gonna get Neil. Even though, to be fair, I'm not gonna Jason Bell hasn't come on yet though, so don't mean to.
It's on Sunday nights. So what we do is we warm up his seat on the sofa. Me and Phoebe get lay out all this stuff, and then he walks in. We know who the stars are.
And Phoebe gets the snacks ready because we've all seen that as well.
Exactly. Yes, that's still my favourite moment of last season. I know you were trying to wrap up. I'm sorry, but last year they showed we had the Buffalo game and it was all emotional and they had the big touchdowns, and I think it was the second of the kickoff returns for the touchdown by Naeem Hines, and Phoebe's so excited and she's literally she has to finish. You pour the rest of the crisps into you. Do that first, then celebrate the touchdown. That in a nutshell sums up Phoebe in our studio. So
she has been brilliant addition to Sky Sports. Her knowledge is phenomenal. I had the pleasure of interviewing her, and we talked about the fans there in Buffalo, and because Fred had not long been to the Miami Buffalo game last year, one of our hosts, and he had loads of videos of obviously Buffalo fans going through tables because that's what they do. I was talking about that. You showed so jealous for the time as well, but no, thank you very much.
It is a very good crew. We watch those games like you do. Like Jason sits there, Phoebe sits there. They're into it. They're excited, and that's what it's all about, right? We're all the same. We're all fans of this great sport. And we're all on quite an incredible journey at the moment.
100%. But no, thank you very much for your time, Neil. Thank you everyone for listening at home as well. We will be back with another very special guest soon, so make sure you follow us on all the socials, Twitter, Facebook, you know where to find it, all that by now. And we'll be back soon, and thank you very much.